So I'm going to take the, where was I before I was so rudely interrupted by that? Not that, this. It's an 82 KLT 250. I added a couple dash lights. The green is the neutral light, is a neutral light, and the red is just the ignition. Key switch. Push the button. Cold start. Well, it's 90 degrees out, so it's not really cold. Give her a minute to warm up. Let's go for a ride. This is why I affectionately refer to as Rock Hill, because there's just so many rocks up here. Here's the problem with this hill. See, there's a bunch of juvenile trees that are between 12 and 14 years old, and scattered among them you've got these big old pines that are probably 80 to 100 years old. You see a bunch of burned logs, burned stumps. When this property was being developed in the late 89, 1990, I think it was December of 89, the permits were pulled. So the house was completed sometime in the 90s, 1990. And anyhow, one of the owner's friends came up, and he was stupid, from the city, and he didn't understand the whole catalytic converter thing, and he burned this whole knoll down. Well, the problem with that, the house is back behind there. The road that comes in is just on the other side of this knoll. They never replanted this hill, and when you've got bare earth like that, it takes a couple years, especially when it's singed with that much heat. It takes a couple years really for the ground cover to come back, and all the topsoil washes away. We get a lot of rain up here, so for a couple years it just eroded like crazy. So you still have burned crumbs all over the place 20 years later. That was 1990, and then all this buckbrush started coming in through, and the buckbrush is super flammable. And when we bought the place in 01, we came through and planted, and all these little shorty trees, we'd come and I planted the second year trees. So they were 2 years old, bare root, you get from the forestry nursery. Ponderosa pine, Jeffrey pine, blue spruce, Doug fir, and I didn't buy any of these juniper trees. These junipers are all volunteers that came back up. The junipers suck a lot of water, so I didn't want any of them guys around here. But let's go for a walk. I do have my slippies, my burn stuff. This is kind of my favorite area. So yeah, so in the couple of years it took for this place to get some sort of ground cover on there, the rain really washed away a lot of the topsoil and exposed all these rocks. So it makes it pretty rugged terrain to walk on and quad on, and for these poor little guys to get some nutrition. So it takes time. Every year we plant a couple hundred trees. Oh, excuse me, it's at dinner. Every year we plant a couple hundred trees. All these little guys. And I want to spread them out geographically. I don't want closer than about 12 to 16 feet in between each tree, and I want to spread them out time-wise too when they go in the ground. Because I don't want them all the same age, you know, coming to maturity the same age. You want to stagger their, I mean, you know, what in 10 years is a drop in the bucket in the lifetime of one of these ponderosa trees, but you know, space things out. Like these little guys, you come in and drop these little guys. These are a couple years old. We got that one and that one. Got all these guys down here are probably 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10 years old. And we replanted this whole thing, but you look, this whole knoll up, and I'll walk to the end all the way up to, there's a three-wheeler, all the way up to here, and you can still see the trees are burned. A lot of these trees still have the charring on the bark there, but those trees survived the fire, just killed some of the bottom branches. And one of these years I'll come in and clean off all those branches, just because I don't like getting poked in the eye holes when I walk around here, and I like walking around here. So we got these guys here that are really neat. It's really neat to see a tree that was the size of your, you know, 2 feet tall when you put them in the ground. They're like between 20 and 22 inches. You know, and you got little guys like this that are a couple years old. But once they get established, nuts. I love this place. Look at this. Now this knoll here is going to be tricky. This is probably a 10-year plan to get this place here redone, because it's so exposed and it's so vulnerable to the weather and the wind. And so the plan is to come down on the lower part of the knoll, get everything to grow up a bit, to cast some shade here, because this stuff really gets baked in the sun, and this buckbrush loves the heat. Loves the heat. Okay, we got all these little guys that are kind of protected by the scrub brush. Just about every year, see, still got burned. Just about every year I come through and I clear out more sections of this buckbrush, throw them in burn piles. I didn't do that this year. Got busy with that stupid Farmall cub tractor. We'll go back down the back side of the hill here. Lots of deer poop, plenty of rattlesnakes and critters, and see the buckbrush is tall here. Good golly, this is 4 feet tall right here. But we got little trees. And right now, I leave the buckbrush around little trees because it kind of helps them out. Keeps the sun off of them. Keeps the heat off of them. Look at all these guys all scattered about here. There's a whole draw that goes way back in here. It's about 3 or 4 acres. Look, I got a dead tree right there I got to take out. That'll be, well, that's too far away from the house. That'll be, no, actually, no, I take it back. I could access that with a 46. That'll be firewood likely. But all new trees went in here along this knoll. This is a, well, north is that way. So it's the southwest. That's south right there. The sun is setting right over here is west. See the sun? See the sun. So this gets pretty good sunlight. These guys get pretty good sunlight. It's pretty neat, all these trees. Let's walk through there. We'll take this cow trail. Well, in this case it's a deer trail, but let's see if I can do this in my slipper feet. Last year I caught a rattlesnake, killed him. I tacked him to a board and stuck him out in one of these ant hills out here. See that little fire ant right there? Stuck him. I gotta make sure I don't step on any of these ant hills because they'll wreck you. But I threw him out on an ant hill because I wanted the ants to eat his meat. Well, a squirrel came and took him. The bastard. The squirrels dragged him into a hole. I took the pole or the little stick and everything that I had him nailed to. Oh, let me walk over this way. See, some of these trees survived. They're a little close, but I'm gonna let them go for now. Let them get to a decent height, and then we'll see. We'll start thinning things out so they don't get attacked by beetles. So you got burned out stumps. That's 20 years later. These stumps are still showing. Oh man, I got crap in my socks. I guess I should have put shoes on for this. Charcoal. See, in 1989 this thing burned. And if the owner was on his game, look at that. Still charring. If the owner was on his game, he would have come through, and because the forestry department out here will work with you on getting you trees and whatnot. And these trees don't cost much. They're like 25 cents a piece, you know. If you buy them through the forestry, I don't know about private nurseries, but I buy them through the state forestry, and they're, you know, like a quarter a piece for 2-year season, second season trees. It's cheap. Put 200 trees in the ground a year. It doesn't cost you anything but time. Got all these little guys here. All stuff we put in over the years. There's the road in right there. There's the barn. There's the neighbor's pole barn right there. But yeah, they parked their camper somewhere around there. See, they followed the road in when it was just cut and burned the snot out of this hillside. Got a couple acres going. Anyhow, new trees all the way around here. So these are my babies. These guys. These are the. This is my retirement account. Trees, man, trees. Look at the sticks are all dead, but that's a big one. That one survived the fire. That's a big boy right there. Same with that one. I'm starting to get light balance issues. I was intending to head out and get the mail, but I like talking to my trees. Shut up, little tree. What's up, little tree? A general rule of thumb, if you want to date a tree, generally speaking, is they get a new layer of growth every year. You figure each new spring they'll get a little spriglet here and grow some branches. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This tree's about 8 years old, but it's on pretty rocky ground. Generally speaking, plus or minus, they'll grow a new set of branches a year. Like that little guy there. Let's walk down there for a second. Oh, poop. Yeah. See, I was just walking charcoal, and I was getting excited because I was looking to watch where I stand. I was getting excited because I was getting into just a batch of, these are some of the early trees we put in. So some of these guys are 14 years old. We started putting them in around 2001. They're 2 years, 14, 15-year-old trees, and they're probably 15 feet tall, I'd have to say. But back to the matter at hand. Fire ants, busy. You find yourself kicking this mound around, you're gonna be dancing. What's up, fellas? What are you doing? Yeah, I know what they're doing. They're on my feet. Beat it. Anyhow, so we planted all the way up this draw, 3 or 4 acres back. And we took out a lot of trees here. There were a lot of overcrowded, diseased trees. When we first got here, we cut down 150 trees easy. That set us up for firewood for years. These guys is happy trees. This is my happy trees. Happy trees. Okay, now I gotta figure out where I park the scooter. A tree and a buckbrush. So there's 100, well, this particular parcel is 80. Let's walk back up this backside of this hill. I do have to be careful. It was 100 plus today. The rocks are still pretty warm, so there may be some straggler snakes hanging out on a warm plateau somewhere. And I'm not really in the mood to get bit by a rattlesnake this year. That kind of ruined my day. But I have some cool fir trees up here. We'll cut horizontally across here. I like the, not fir trees, Doug fir. I forget what I planted over the years. I have tried to keep the species native to the area. And where are they? Hold on a sec.